Good morning. Welcome to Discover Fiatech. My name is Eva Leos and I will be your host for today's webinar. We are very excited to have this conversation to help everybody better understand Fiatech. Throughout the presentation, feel free to enter questions in the question box and we will answer them as they are posted. At this time, I would like to introduce Bob Weibel, Senior Project Manager of Fiatech, as he will proceed with the next segment of the webinar.
Thank you, Ava, and good morning, everybody. I want to welcome you all to the call. I know a number of you were with us at the annual conference earlier this month in Austin, Texas, and we hope that this opportunity of today gives you a lot more background on some of the origin functions of Fiatech and obviously the membership benefits. We're going to be stepping through four basic parts of the presentation, sort of an overview of Fiatech, what we are, who we are, and what our mission is, and then we're going to talk about the benefits of membership, and in particular we have four board members of Fiatech. We're going to share with you perspective from an owner, two from EPCs, and one from a service provider. Deb McNeil is here with us from Dow, Tom Hannigan from Zachary, Frank Matheson from Bechtel, and Bill Muldoon, formerly with Aviva. We're also then going to spend a little more time on the productivity advancement targets and the special opportunity that becoming a member of Fiatech affords you and your company in terms of the creation of the productivity advancement target teams. And Deb McNeil is going to come back in and talk about that. And lastly, Ava's going to join us again to close out with specific steps that you need to take in terms of joining Fiatech. So first of all, who is Fiatech? We'll talk a bit more about some of the details in terms of the origin, but we really are a global nonprofit consortium out of the University of Texas and CII, which focuses on developing new technologies and innovative solutions across the critical challenges that face a life cycle of buildings in the capital facilities industry. We show here just some highlights from 2015, some of the things that we've done. We ran about 24 different projects, and I'll talk about how the projects are generated and the benefits in terms of participating on project teams. We completed 12 of them. We're very active in social media, as those of you at the annual conference know. We run a whole series of webinars, including webinars that members of Fiatech can sponsor. The productivity advancement indicators and the PATS piece we're going to get at in more detail, but just summary, those of you that didn't have an opportunity to go to the PAT webinar, and Deb will be talking a little further about how the productivity advancement targets can really save the industry about $230 million out of every $1 billion in investment and reduce cycle times by 10%. So that's a very exciting thing to be able to get involved in with your company. And we'll talk a bit about some of our member companies, leading presentations that we do with other organizations, and are scanning the horizon for looking at technologies and processes outside of the construction industry that we can bring into you as a member of Fiatech and share with you looking forward. And then, of course, the productivity teams. So talk a bit about the origins of Fiatech and its structure. We really were created in 2000 out of a combination of work groups from the Owners Forum and also the CII Breakthrough Strategy Committee. Those of you who are familiar with CII know that CII works in the area of doing pure research and then coming up with best practices across the capital facilities industry. But inside that group, there was no group that existed that could look across and take and promote, identify technologies and processes that could solve problems inside the industry. So it wasn't just moving outside of the pure research piece, which is CII, and looking specifically at identifying actual steps that could be taken to develop, demonstrate, and deploy new technologies and processes to address inefficiencies in the industry. Fiatech also is kind of a play on words in that it's the front part of it, FIAT, came from fully integrated and automated technology, which also is Latin for let it be done. The leadership and structure came out of the capital facilities industry, oil, gas, and petrochemical industry, and came around and gathered around something we call the Fiatech roadmap, which is the chart on the right-hand side of your screen. This really is a detailed analysis of the entire elements of life cycle of buildings, everything from coming up with a design scenario, automated design, integrated automated procurement and supply, intellectual and automated construction site, intelligent self-maintaining and repairing buildings, real-time project management. All of the projects, the over 150 projects Fiatech has generated over the years to address problems, pain points, if you will, in that our members from owners, EPCs, suppliers, and the academic community have identified, all of them have really been generated out of that roadmap. Fiatech itself has a board of advisors comprised of companies that you see in the center screen, and a staff of Fiatech staff comprised of 9 people. Most of them are in the Austin area, but there are a few of us who are located elsewhere, including Stuart Young, who is in the United Kingdom. We have a series of committees that help structure the organization. The Board of Advisors has a committee working on membership, one on project management, which helps oversee the projects that we have generated. And then we have a strategic direction committee, which we created about 3.5 years ago, which produced a strategic plan for Fiatech that we're working on fulfilling. And our Horizon 360 team, which scans the horizon outside of our industry for possible technologies and processes to bring into our industry, is indeed out of that strategic plan. Well, here are some of the members of our Fiatech family. We have over 100 members and companies and partners. This is a pretty good cross-section that represents companies not only in the United States, but also internationally, including universities overseas, that share the vision and purpose of Fiatech and have come together with our other members to address these problems inside the capital facilities industry. We also have a series of partners, including, obviously, Construction Industry Institute, from which we came, CABA, SICE, COMIT in the United Kingdom, the Arc Advisory Group, CIB, AIA, and a few others that you're all familiar with. Well, the benefits of membership. I'm going to quickly cover some of the traditional things that we do, and we'll get into, again, the productivity advancement target teams and that benefit. Some of you, again, who were at the meeting recognize this graphic. It's the carrot and stick and the tambourine. It was part of the presentation that Steve Jones from Dodge Data and Analytics presented in his keynote address on Tuesday morning. And it really is kind of, if you look at it, Fiatech really represents kind of the person with the carrot trying to have incentives for the capital facility industry to move forward into more efficiency, and also the tambourine. It's the economic reality that's the guy with the stick. This is indeed why companies come to Fiatech, and why in this particular time for the oil and gas industry, when there are some serious concerns with prices and need for greater efficiency, why what we're rolling out in terms of the productivity advancement target teams is all that more important. The PATs, which we'll cover later, really are a unique way to look across that roadmap we showed before and look at all of the places where working together with industry, with the private sector and the public sector, address key places where true efficiencies can be achieved. As a Fiatech member, you will be able to participate in the creation of those PAT teams and the identification of projects that will come out of them. We also have leadership forum participation. Our leadership forum meeting is held in the fall of each year. We'll be in New Orleans in September. And that is where we really sit down and basically share with each other areas where we do need projects. We also talk about, this year we'll be talking about the expansion and the development and the work of the PAT teams, which are being organized this summer. As members, you participate in Fiatech webinars and workshops, and indeed, as a member, you're able to sponsor a webinar for our, both not only for our members, but for the entire community that we go out and reach out to talk about your products, services, and the things that your company is doing. We also have a members-only website portion of the Fiatech website, and this is indeed where we have information on all the 150 projects we have run in the past, and as we're working on some projects, some of that project information is up on the website, available again only to members of Fiatech. We also have some members-only deliverables inside our projects, not only some of the reports and some of the outcome, but we have done things like we did a project with EPRI and 3D virtual reality and its application inside nuclear facilities to help identify nuclear radiation exposure for plant workers. That created some algorithms, and those algorithms then became available to Fiatech members. And indeed, it's now being applied in the nuclear industry. Industry promotion and awards. Again, those of you who are at the annual conference were there for Tuesday night's SETI Award program and our STAR Awards. And of course, that recognition is international. A number of our winners come from overseas as well as here in the state. And lastly, networking and access to industry leading subject matter experts, including those people who are going to talk with you right now. It's best that you really hear from Fiatech members about what they brought them to Fiatech as part of the industry, either as an owner or an EPC or a service provider. And with that, I'll turn it over to Deb McNeil. Deb?
Thanks, Bob. Hi, I'm Deb McNeil, and I have been in the capital project industry about 38 years. I started as a process engineer with Union Carbide. I'm now the project productivity program manager for the Dow Chemical Company, and in that role, my mission is to remove several $100 million of cost from Dow's project execution model by bringing in new systems, integrating systems, and making work easier for all the project participants that we have. So why are we members of Fiatech? First reason is we're a founding member. Dow was one of the 8 companies who got together back in the late 90s in the owner-operator forum and said, guys, this technology, data integration piece is too hard for one person to solve. We need to work together as an industry to work with the solution providers to tackle the giant, if you will. So we've been there since the beginning, excited about the mission. I think one thing we did learn is after the initial setup and running and the projects began to run, we probably backed off a little bit in our engagement, and we left our technology guys, who I love to death, but we left them in the space. And when the work process execution folks came back in a few years later, we at Dow found out we were behind in some work process improvements, particularly advanced work packaging, that needed to be dealt with. So one of my pieces of advice for being a member is you engage in a multifaceted front in your company. Participation in the projects themselves accelerates value delivery to Dow. We're part of the initial conversations. We're able to bring in our experiences, our knowledge, and make sure that the solution that or recommendations that come out of those teams are applicable and bring value to us and to owner-operators. And then also it's a growth opportunity for the team members. They get to expose to other experts, international experts in the area that's being investigated, and they also get exposure to other industry and what's being done there. So a real easy way to keep up to speed on what we call the state of the possible. Who out there right now is doing something that if we brought it into our work processes and changed our behavior to use it would be able to deliver value. So the other thing we really get out of engagement is also learn what if people tried that didn't work, so we don't have to go down that same path. So I see I think Dow, we brought 12 people to the conference, and all of them came away with at least 4 or 5 significant learnings. And it's just a way to keep track of what's going on in the rest of the world, and again, personalize it in such a way to bring it into your company to deliver value. That's all I have right now, Bob.
Thank you. Tom?
Good morning, everybody. This is Tom Hannigan. I'm retired from Zachary and have been participating in Fiatech for almost since its inception, and feel it has a tremendous amount of value. And I think a good analogy to me is the America's Cup. America's Cup was formed way back in 1851 over in Great Britain by the Royal Yacht Squadron, and for literally the next almost 150 years, the vessels did not change much from what you see right there. That was the Columbia and Shamrock in 1899, and this is the winner of the America's Cup in the 1980s. It was a vessel, or a sailing boat, named the Freedom. And you know, there was incremental small improvements in the sailboats over the years, but by and large it stayed the same. That all of a sudden changed around the year 2000, and in 2013 this is what an America's Cup vessel looked like. It didn't even have sails. It had wings on it, aerodynamic wings, and it could sail significantly faster than even the speed of wind. This particular one sailed almost 3 times the speed of wind. It could get up to 45 knots, whereas the fastest vessels previously were around 20 knots. And that, I think, is analogous to where we are in the construction industry. There really hasn't been that much change since we built the Empire State Building back in the 1920s to where we have been here all the way up until, say, 2008 and 2010. But things are beginning to change. There's technologies that are emerging, both in materials and in hardware and in software and in design and systems, that are being imported from other industries that are going to have a profound impact and effect on the major capital construction industry. And as a consequence, Zachary didn't want to be left behind. We don't want to be on a boat that's going 20 knots while the competition is going 45 knots. Change can happen very, very fast in the industry now, and it can be subtle. And all of a sudden you're bidding against another contractor that has a significant technological advantage over you as far as quality and speed and estimating accuracy and methodology, and you're left in the dust. So we want the latest technology. We want the latest materials. We want the latest methods. And we want the latest pieces of equipment. So by and large, overall, we need and have to have innovation both as a company and as an industry. The productivity within the capital construction industry has been flat over many, many decades, whereas the automotive industry and other industries have improved significantly. I think you're going to see over the next 10 to 15 years a very significant upshot in the use of new and emerging technologies in the construction industry, and where better to get that information than in Fiatech. That is exactly what the purpose is. So Zachary sends a number of people to the conference every year and to our leadership forum, and that is to broaden their perspective on what is going on out in the industry that is new and different, where they can bring their ideas and thoughts in collaboration with others to come up with solutions that no one has used before. And we see that as a very valuable part of the culture of Zachary in creating new ideas, new approaches, and a new culture that will benefit Zachary and the industry as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Frank?
Yeah, thanks, Bob. My name is Frank Mathewson. I'm the Corporate Engineering and Technology Engineering Manager at Bechtel, responsible for our work process improvements and the supporting automation technology. So with that role, Fiatech aligns very well with the responsibilities that I have. Just a bit of history, Bechtel has been a Fiatech member for well over 15 years, and I've been engaged for probably half of that. And we actively participate in Fiatech and many of its projects over that time. That engages a lot of people across Bechtel, not just in engineering, but in our engineering, procurement, construction, project controls organizations, and other parts of the company. So it's fairly broadly engaged within Bechtel. The Fiatech projects, and we really focus on those because they're a catalyst for us to advance technology solutions through the proof of concepts or industry best practices. And through that participation over the years, we have realized a lot of value and implemented many of the Fiatech recommendations that come out of the project portfolio. What's happening today and why we have been and continue to be a Fiatech member is the world is rapidly changing, driven by low energy prices and a lot of competitive pressures across the industry. So it's very important that the capital projects participant looks to Fiatech leadership to accelerate change by breaking down the barriers and driving innovative solutions throughout the industry. I think the productivity advancement targets, which we'll talk about in a minute, they provide an excellent framework for us to focus on what is possible and achievable. So all of these things, the companies that Bob went through, the partners that we have, alliances that Fiatech has a broad coverage across the entire industry globally, not just within the United States. So I think all of that helps to expose, as Tom said, ideas and things that we can all do as an industry to improve the outcome of capital projects. Thanks, Bob.
Thank you, Frank. And Bill, for the perspective of the solution provider.
Thank you, Bob, and I appreciate Deb and Tom and Frank jumping in there. My name is Bill Muldoon. I'm the I was past Executive Vice President for Aviva, and we are a solution provider to the marketplace providing engineering data information integration. We looked at the opportunity of being part of Fiatech to actually have access to the insights of the owners, their supply chain, which included service providers as well as EPCs that supported that, and allowed us to design, build, or adapt solutions to help solve some of those business problems that were being discussed. And I think the other thing that was important is gain access to the networks of people and to be able to have those conversations. We were also looking for things around common interests. So, as Tom and Frank and Deb explained problems, we also are trying to address those problems. And ironically, sometimes it's just not knowing that others do it already, or there's a way to adjust together to make those things together, or possibly even change the work process to kind of be unique. And so, as a service solution provider to Fiatech, is allowed us and myself personally to gain those type of relationships and decrease the time to revenue, as well as have an impact on improving the world around us. So we're very excited and been supporting Fiatech for many, many years from some of the early inceptions. Like most of these other members here, definitely encourage you to further expand, and if there's anyone that would like to know more from our perspective, we'll be glad to show you. Bob, thank you very much.
Thank you, Bill. As you've heard, the heart of much of what Fiatech does and the benefit of becoming a member of Fiatech is your involvement in the projects and also helping to identify projects. Whether you're an EPC or an owner or a service provider, coming in and identifying a particular point of pain, an inefficiency inside the industry, and being able to work together in some cases with your competitors in the field to address those problems, or exactly what was the origin of the over 150 projects Fiatech has run over the years. We have currently 12 projects. We're going to be finishing 6 of those shortly. So we are ready to take on a whole new collection of projects that our members identify, in part through the roadmap, which I talked about earlier, and also particularly through the productivity advancement target teams that Deb McNeil will talk about in a minute. What we have up here, some of the projects that we have ongoing now are things as diverse as the advanced work packaging information mapping project, the use of 3D VR in training, automated code checking, and a new project we're working on, what we call the Eye in the Sky, which is looking at the standards in terms of the construction industry making use of UAVs, and all of the federal regulations here in the United States and regulations that some of you overseas are seeing your national governments put in place. But the new productivity advancement targets are going to do quite a bit for us looking at projects from here on out. And with that, I'll turn it over back to Deb McNeil. Deb?
Thanks, Bob. So you may be sitting there saying, okay, Fiatech existed for 15 years. We've done over 100 projects. Why is the industry productivity still flat? And we asked ourselves that question last fall as a Fiatech membership. And what we really determined is that although we had pockets of excellence in answers for some of the problems, what we were missing is an integrated framework to put those solutions within, to gather current best practice, to deliver the results. So the work that the owners, members of Fiatech did last fall was we said, okay, let's take the whole picture, take the roadmap, but let's focus on where we believe the pain and the problems still exist. And we identified 12 areas where we said we believe either with knowledge we have or knowledge we can generate, we can advance technology, work process, and people behavior change to drive a significant productivity improvement. And those are the productivity advancement targets that you see here. When you place, go back again, Bob. When you place those against the total investment for the industry and you dollarize that, the potential that we believe, and we also validated with our membership last fall, was that we can save over $300 million on every $1 billion of investment, and we can move about 10% faster. So how are we going to pull together this framework and gather the current knowledge and gather the gaps? Next slide. What we're going to do, and it's sort of up in the left-hand corner here, we're going to form PAT teams, Productivity Advancement Target teams. They're going to be co-led by owner, operators, and AECs, EPCs. But they're going to be, the membership is going to include all the players that have to come together to truly improve productivity. So it'll include the major materials and equipment providers, the system integrators and SMEs, software providers, anyone really, research and academics, everyone who has a passion for advancing the delivery of a significant breakthrough in productivity for the industry. So last fall we took our leadership initiatives there on the lower left-hand corner, and we turned those into productivity advancement targets. Again, we dollarized those, and each of these teams will have a very clear target to say, okay, how do I put work process, technology, and people and change readiness together to help the industry, particularly the owners and EPCs who need to accomplish that, to help them understand what do we already know how to do, to self-assess on where they are in their company, and then to help them develop individual improvement plans to deliver that benefit within their execution models and on their projects. So we're very excited. We're getting ready to form these teams. The leadership is meeting, the PAT team leaderships are meeting to decide how we're going to work together. But we're getting ready to kick off here in May, so I hope you'll come join us. Next slide.
Thank you so much, Deb, Bill, Tom, Frank, for giving us information. And as Deb mentioned, the Leadership Forum is a great place for which we are going to go into more details, and as these PAT teams begin to form up, this is where the conversation associated with the project development will take place. This year it will be in New Orleans, and we are super excited about that. The information will be placed on our website shortly to go into more details as to the agenda, the details of the timeline, and the various aspects associated with it. The next area that we are focusing on is the Horizon 360, which is an aspect in which you can submit information of cutting-edge technologies so that we can bring forward how new technologies will be impacting the capital projects industry. And as Tom discussed, we look forward to information from outside of the construction and engineering aspects, because there's a lot of opportunities that will affect the industry that are coming from other areas. And in order to discuss those, we ask you to submit that information via the form that we have on our website. Everything is welcome. We learn a lot about the various opportunities through the technology webinars that we host throughout the various summer months as well as later into the fall. And these are webinars that are hosted by our members, led by our partners, and they are for the overall industry. Everyone is welcome to participate in these webinars, and the recordings are made available on the Fiatech YouTube channel as well as our archive page on the website. As Deb mentioned, the PATS teams are forming now, and we would love for you to be part of those. There is 4 of the 8 that are scheduled to kick off in the month of May, and we will begin to release information and invite those people that have a specific interest in these PAT teams. This is where the leadership really starts, and we will have a good understanding of what projects we will develop and take on to really make changes in the industry. Throughout the months that lead forward, we have the Voice of the Owner webinars, which are owner-led discussions that will touch on those type of topics that are a little complicated, maybe difficult to discuss in a broad venue, but it's a great learning opportunity that impacts the overall industry. So these are definitely sessions that you can find on the YouTube channel as well, and we encourage you to review those and have that as an aspect of discussion. We have projects, and that is something that has come up on various ways and conversation throughout this webinar, and this is where you can really make change and make sure that we can lead forward the industry, and you can be part of a change by joining the project team. Coming up in May, we are having our Efficiency Through Digital Project European Summit, in which we will have our international participants and member companies gather in London. This is available with more details that will be released in the next week about this event. It is on May 24th in central London, and we would love for you to be part of this. We also host mobile IT webinars to discuss technologies that are affecting the industry, and technology has been discussed in a myriad of ways throughout the presentation, and this is where we can really get a good hands-on detail. These are webinars that are led by members, partners, and collaborators, and we encourage you to learn a little bit more, and possibly if you're interested in a presentation, we would love to hear from you, because we look for all sorts of different technologies that are leading forward or could lead forward our industry. All of these are opportunities for you to engage at the next level, and as we go forward, Fiatech membership is a very important part of being a leader in the change and bringing forward these new opportunities. So please consider taking the next steps. Fill out the application, coordinate with us so that we can prepare a company conversation to go over specific details so that you might be best equipped to ensure that your company gets the most from this membership. We have membership dues that are in a variety of levels in which we are able to best assist you in helping both the small and the large companies participate. So we would love to have a in-detail conversation with you about how you can join us and become a member of Fiatech and be part of the opportunity to move the industry forward. At this time, if you have any questions associated with what was brought up on the webinar, we would love to hear from you. There has been a couple of questions that were brought forward, and the first one is your membership all around engineering and construction? Deb, how does Dow look at this?
So we look at it as a very multifunctional engagement. To truly get advantaged with the technology, we also engage our project management function, which actually in the Dow sits in our businesses. We engage procurement, maintenance, operations. We see this as delivering capital projects within an owner company as being very multifunctional. And if you look at our work process, there's actually 26 different work process disciplines that Dow has defined as important enough to have a, if you will, a sub-work process defined. So definitely not engineering construction limited. Very multifunctional view of how do you deliver the whole thing. In fact, a lot of our focus right now is how do we deal with integrated materials management to not negatively impact construction productivity. So the value we're seeing is in the white space, if you will, between the functions.
Thank you. We also have a question of, do we have members who participate outside of the domestic U.S.? Frank, can you respond to that?
Sure. Yes, we have, as Bob went through, a lot of members that are way beyond, just U.S. domestic. We have companies from many countries, even Russia, I believe we have a member. So there's a lot of companies like that. And alliances that we have commit in the UK, as an example, in construction automation space. So yeah, and even with the global companies like Bechtel, we engage members throughout our organization from Australia, US, Chile, UK, India, various places. So a lot of Fiatech members are global companies and engage all various parts of the company. And carry on from what Deb said, it's not just engineering. You've got to look at, and construction, you've got to look horizontally across. And that's the only way to be efficient. If you just look at it in the silos, you're not going to be very efficient. So yeah, global membership, I think, brings a lot to Fiatech and different perspectives from different parts of the world.
Eva, this is Bill. May I jump in? I mean,
Absolutely.
Viva is a company, and we joined from our UK operations. We do participate with Fiatech with representatives from different countries, as Frank said, coming to the different meetings, as well as we have different projects we may be engaged with you at different locations. So.
That's a really great point of view. And the final question is, how do you interact, you being Fiatech, with other firms like CURT, ECC, and other global groups? Bob, can you respond to that?
Sure. We quite frequently give presentations at those organizations. The ARC is a partner, quite frequently a member of our board, in some cases accompanied by a member of staff. Our director, Ray Topping, will participate as a panelist, sharing what we're doing inside Fiatech with these other associations in our field, and cross-fertilizing in terms of ideas. We'll take, for example, we're working on the application of artificial intelligence to the construction industry, and we see several opportunities coming up in the near future for such presentations. We've spoken on the auto code project at our partner, the International Code Council's annual meetings, and also at the American Institute of Architects annual convention. Inside COMIT, we frequently give presentations on things we're doing. The whole area, obviously, of mobile devices on construction sites, which is at the heart of COMIT, is indeed a part of our work, and there's a cross-fertilization of activities there.
Excellent. Well, thank you all very much for taking the time out of your day to participate in this webinar. I would like to thank each one of our presenters for participating as well. We will do a recap message and send this out to all of those who registered for this event, and we will post this on the Fiatech YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your time, and be on the lookout for future Fiatech webinars. Have a great day.